Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bullship with Bill and Matt. I am Bill. That is Matt. Or no, I'm Matt.
I thought you did that on purpose. And I was going to have to call you on it, but wow, that's a great way to start a podcast, Matt.
Everything you don't need to know about the supply chain, we like to also underpromise and underdeliver here. So you're going to get it just all day. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing good, and I've actually got some fun news. I actually heard from a listener. Someone actually listens to and follows our podcast.
What?
I know, it's crazy. Yes, I heard from him on LinkedIn. He not only that, so you know that we've kind of been on accidental hiatus, right? Like we haven't posted for a few weeks for various reasons, most of which are poor.
There's someone in Boston who is terrible at scheduling, but
I have no idea what you're talking about because I'm not in Boston. But yes, it was mostly my fault. Matt had a legitimate excuse. I had a poor excuse, and hence we have not published for a while. So yes, he asked if we were going to be publishing more, and said that he is a new follower. So Kevin Wright, if you are listening, thank you very much. And please go find something better to do with your time because this is a whole bunch of nonsense.
I mean, you could potentially, I hear from the humans that I know who listen to this show, the few of them that there are, they typically listen to it while driving. So that's something, we're great. We will fill time while you drive through traffic. Happy to do that.
Matt, I understand that. I mean, I assume that people listening to podcasts are probably driving. I listen to podcasts when I drive. I do not listen to us.
It's rousing support for
yes.
This podcast that we were on. So carrying on a topic from the last time that we actually met, because we had a lot of catching up to do last time, I do want to let everyone know that my son, one, did not, in fact, make the All-Star team, surprise to no one, and two, we lost in nigh devastating fashion our one singular playoff game where we were destroyed 15-2 of 3 innings. In the first inning, like fourth batter, the coaches across teams almost got into fisticuffs. It got really close.
Oh wow.
Then we all went, this is a 6-year-old t-ball game. We need to stop. This is not a big deal.
I was going to ask how they managed to score 15 runs in 3 innings, but 6-year-old t-ball, that is entirely doable.
It means that you score your run rule of 5 runs per inning, 5 to 15. That's how know how math works. So I don't need to explain it.
Yes.
While we scored 2 in the same amount of innings, it was tough to be there.
I'm sorry, but now your season's over and maybe you have more time on your hands?
I have more time for projects around the house. Great. So, Bill, anything interesting on your side that we should talk about before we get, off to something?
Well, again, my mind was still blown that we have a listener and a follower. But I think what we actually wanted to talk about today, at the end of last podcast, we talked about a $90,000 Cheeto, and you seemed to get I think it was $90,000. Maybe it was. My memory's a little hazy now, but I think it went sold for auction for like 70-something thousand, and then there were some additional fees and whatnot that turned it into 90, something like that. $90,000. Regardless, 70 or 90,000, like much too much for a Cheeto. For those of you who did not listen to this, the Cheeto looked like Charizard, the Pokemon.
Cheetozard. Right, that's what it was.
Cheetozard. It was called Cheetozard, I think. Yes, and hence obviously is worth $90,000. But that I think got you thinking about why people would spend crazy amounts of money for things. And yeah, so why don't you take it away? Because you had some thoughts on Cheetozard, and I would love for you to just kick us off with those thoughts.
My first thought on Cheetozard is why didn't you just eat the Cheeto? Right, like when I'm eating Cheetos, because we all know how aggressive the Cheeto dust is, I will typically just pour them down my gullet.
I was thinking the same. So I'm not a fan of Cheetos, but I was thinking the same thing. Like if I'm eating chips or something out of a bag, I'm not looking at each one's shape. I'm just stuffing them in my mouth.
Yeah.
So the fact that Cheetozard survived is actually miraculous.
I don't know how many Cheeto Cheeto Blastoises or Cheeto Venusaurs or Cheeto, Mewtwo's I might have accidentally ingested. How many untold thousands of dollars that I have been depriving my family of because I just like to eat Cheetos.
That's going to go buy a whole pallet of Cheetos now and just open every one. Get like Veruca salt, right? Just going through.
There You
Gonna
go.
find that golden ticket there, Matt.
Supply and demand. So what were we talking about? You wanted to talk about luxury goods, right?
I think you were going in the direction of supply and demand and why people pay exorbitant amounts of money for things like Cheetosard, which got me thinking about supply and demand and a new term that I learned actually in thinking about this podcast, Veblen goods. Have you heard of this?
Nope. News to me.
Veblen goods are goods that for which demand increases as the price also increases.
Yeah, okay.
So the whole luxury, because normally there's an inverse relationship. If prices go up, demand goes down. But there is a perceived premium on these products, right? And you can think of like you're thinking of stuff. I used to work in and when you get outside like the $10 to $20 a bottle kind of everyday stuff, or way outside of that, and you get into like the collectible wines, you run into this where there's some wines that it's ridiculous that you even refer to wines as collectible, but yes, they are. These are wines that get released and rich people snap them up and store them away somewhere, mainly just to sell them. Some of them drink them, but a lot of people will just sell them for a lot more money.
Yes.
And these are wines that are limited, and there's a reason for their being limited, because in the wine world, certain parcels of land make better wine than other parcels.
Terroir, right?
Terroir. Very good. Very good. Yes. Yes, the soil is just right, and the microclimate is just right. Everything is just right. And so, but there are very few of these parcels of land. And of course, they make the best wine, so everybody wants them. And so you've got this scarcity model creating much more demand than there is supply. And so there's like the classic supply and demand. But these wines sell for thousands of dollars, right? $5,000, $10,000 a bottle. So they cost, 100, 1,000 times, I don't know what, more than a typical bottle of wine. Even a bottle of wine from like just down the street from where this one was made. But these wines do not cost 100 or 1,000 times more to produce. They certainly cost more to produce, right? You're more careful with them. The yields of the grapes are lower. You're going to use like the special oak barrels to age them potentially, and you're going to use fancy cork. Like it costs more for sure, but it doesn't cost that much more. Exactly. And the difference between so the markups are crazy. Like they can be I have no idea what 100%, 90%, 100% more, whatever. And the difference there is this perception of value, which it just always boggles my mind. And apparently people perceive value in Pokemon shaped snacks.
It's wild, right? Like when you look at luxury goods, right? So I've also worked in, I would say, luxury adjacent, right? Have never worked for like a crazy big company like that. But a lot of like why things cost the way they cost is because humans will pay that money.
Yes.
Right? Like that's when you sum it all down, like that's just how it is, right? Like this right? Because things are scarce, and you have to be like both scarce and also like better than everyone else, right? For whatever reason, right? So like in the case of wines, they have to obviously have tasted better than every other wine, or they wouldn't have that reputation of like being good, being worth value. And then because they're limited, humans get FOMO, and we want, and like then you just like run up the ranks of like who can pay the most money for this thing, right? And that is why auctions exist as a form of sale, is to like find out who's going to bid the most money. Like that's the whole point of an auction.
That's a great point. A lot of these wines go to auction, actually. And that's a fantastic point. I never actually put that together. But you're also you're getting into like, so you talked about the quality there, and there is maybe like with this is ostensibly a podcast about supply chains, and we're talking more about like marketing right now. But there is a supply chain element of these luxury goods, because one of the things that they do to maintain the quality and the perception of quality and all that is they will vertically integrate their entire supply chain. So if you think about like Hermes or Louis Vuitton, they're making handbags or whatever they make. They will source the leather. They've got their own houses where they produce all this stuff. They're not outsourcing their manufacturing. So there is the approach where they are trying to ensure quality, and the way that they do so is to control every step of the way. Not only in production, but like this is why they will often have their own outlets, right? They will have their own stores. They do not sell this stuff in other places.
Bill, it runs deeper than even you think. They will artificially increase scarcity on certain items, right? So like De Beers is really well known for this, right? They cornered the market on diamonds many years ago, and there's untold thousands of like cut diamonds that are just like sitting in De Beers' lockers, right? Because De Beers does not want to sell those items because whatever. Lab grown diamonds have sort of changed that model. Doesn't really matter anymore. It's off topic. But luxury houses, so one of which that I'm going to specifically refer to is Burberry. A few years ago, like in 2017, 2018, a news article broke that Burberry was actually burning their well-known coats, right? So they would produce coats, and then some portion of them they would just burn, and it like they got massive attention if you happen to remember it. But I actually had someone who worked at Burberry was like, "Oh yeah, we do that all the time. If something doesn't sell, we do not ever want it to go to outlets.
Yep.
We want it to go away, and so we just burn it." And that, like, the destruction of luxury items happens so often and in quantities that would really frustrate you. But that's a thing, like, super common in the world of luxury goods.
That's wild, because I knew that like discounting, like they never do, right? They will never discount these things. It hadn't occurred to me that they would have to disposition goods, and like burning actually makes perfect sense. Like it's absurd, but it makes perfect sense in this situation. But because in my mind, like it's weird. Like for us, like they're happy with out of stocks, right?
Yeah.
They want their stuff to be out of stock, and so I just always assumed that they just would figure out what's our take their forecast. What do we think it is? And then they just like completely underproduce to that forecast.
To some extent, yeah.
But sometimes they're going to miss that mark too, and then they're going to have extra stuff. And what else are you going to do with it?
Well, you have to do right. One, you get really good at under forecasting, right, and saying this is what I expect to do, right, and being this is hard for a lot of companies is being okay being out of stock of something, and that's like because you want to maximize value, you want to make money for the company, but like and in trends like fashion trends, which is where you see most luxury goods, they are fickle and you like they turn on a dime. So you may not know, like you may not follow the trends super well. But yeah, like being comfortable with being out of stock of stuff is something that is difficult for most retailers to do. Yeah, it's.
So luxury goods kind of like, they just bother me. And I will admit that wine is a hobby of mine. I do enjoy wine, and I have had some stupidly expensive bottles of wine in my life. I didn't pay for them, but stupidly expensive. And in fairness, like they taste better than the stuff that I normally drink. Like they genuinely do. Not, I they had like an $800 bottle of champagne once. I would not pay $800 for that bottle of champagne, but it was some damn good champagne. So like I kind of get it, but then I mean, I'm not a fashion icon. You can tell, and I know that you were not either because I see what you're wearing.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
And so like the fashion stuff I have a hard time with it. And so I came across a company recently, another luxury goods company. They make luxury coffee table books. Yes, I made the same face. This is so status symbol-y. Like luxury table, it is. They've got their most expensive one that I saw on their website today. Take a guess.
The most expensive coffee. What is this? Do you know what the subject of this coffee table book is?
It is like a photo/illustration journal of, I forget the name of it, some well-known oasis city in like Saudi Arabia somewhere.
Okay.
Alula or something like that, I think.
For a coffee table book.
Yes. Beautiful photographs, nicely compiled, illustrations, very artistically done.
I want to say like $5,000.
$20,000.
Get out.
For a coffee table book, for a very limited edition, very well composed coffee table book with from I think some well-known photographer and a well-known artist, multimedia artist of some kind. Yes, $20,000.
That's on the primary market. This is not like secondary, like at auction.
No, they do not. I don't think they do anything via auction. Again, like vertically integrated, they decide on what they're going to publish. They basically, for lack of a better term, they write the books, right? They produce the books from inception all the way through production, and they sell in their own outlets. They've got like 15 or so stores worldwide, and all the, in all the rich, swanky cities you would expect to find such places.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Luxury coffee table books.
Luxury coffee table books. Yeah. So the other fun thing about luxury goods. So there's two companies. So Hermes that makes the Birkin bag, and Rolex.
Yep.
They have the Birkin bag for Hermes. They make a very extremely limited quantity every year, and each of their stores might get one or two, right? Depending on like where these things are,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I would say like the New York City, like downtown Manhattan store probably gets more bags than somewhere else, right? In Massachusetts or
Yep.
Dallas. But you have to, this is so funny about supply and demand, to even be offered the chance to buy the Birkin bag.
I think I know where you're going with this. Yes.
You have to be a very loyal customer and have purchased several like $1,000 worth of items prior to that, just to get your name on the line for a chance one year to get the bag. Like, it's insanity.
I just learned that, I think, last night because I've been watching Your Friends and Neighbors. Have you seen that?
I've not. I want to watch it.
So you just knew this anyway. I was actually going to bring that to the conversation because I learned this last night watching Your Friends and Neighbors, which is about rich folks in Connecticut, basically.
Yeah, I saw it on a thing. There was this guy, economics, whatever YouTube guy, who was like, I want to buy a Panda Rolex watch, but I'm going to buy it in the secondary market, and this is why. And so he explained, like, I don't want to buy $200,000 worth of other watches from Rolex to get the one that I actually want. I'm going to just go onto the market and like buy it on eBay from someone else who's willing to sell it. And so like I'll pay the additional price, so I don't have to pay for everything else with Rolex. It's wild how that works.
So again, we're veering away from supply chain. I want to bring it back because there's an operations thing. I want to actually give these companies, and I complain about them all the time, but I want to give them a little bit of credit because one of the other things that they will do in their operations is, and you kind of alluded to, is like very thorough white glove service, end to end. And so when we talk about their markups, right, their cost of goods sold, that is not that's not the full cost picture in the same way that it is at a regular retailer, right? They are hand selling this stuff. And I'm sure the sales, like I bet you that these stores probably don't necessarily sell a thing every day. Or would I be surprised? Yes, I know. Okay, but at least in my mind, in my simple Western Massachusetts mind, right?
The closest I ever came to this, I was working at Apple when Apple launched the iWatch. And if you remember back to that time, there were 3 levels of pricing for the Apple Watch. There was like the Sport, the Standard, and then the Premium. Right? And so the Premium watch was, I think, like $10,000 to $20,000 because it came in either gold, 21 karat gold, or platinum, or was it silver? I forget which one, but it was like a higher grade metal. And if you wanted to buy in store, you had to apply for an appointment to go and be fitted for your watch.
Oh no.
That's in store only.
I did not remember this. I've not paid any attention to Apple Watches, but okay, that's crazy. Go on.
The other side, you could order online. You could order a watch from a $20,000 watch from Apple online. And I was on the team that was like delivering these things. And the question became, how do we provide that same level of service and the experience, because experience is important to Apple, to someone who's ordered their watch online? And the answer was, we will have a concierge deliver these by hand to someone's home, and they will like be trained to go in home and fit the watch to the human being's hand. Crazy kind of cost, right? Like it got to the point where like major companies are like, we just can't do it. Like it's not like in our wheelhouse to do this. So we find that they found a company to do that. So at one point in time, you could have someone deliver, and we would get to the point of like, what clothes is the person that's going to deliver this watch wearing when they deliver it? What is the car that they're going to drive up to the house? Because all of this matters.
Yep. That is wild. And it's interesting because Apple isn't really a luxury good, right? They are
tried to be.
They act like it, yes, but they're not, right? It's this weird kind of middle ground. It's a high-end consumer good, right? It's not. I wouldn't call it a luxury good. They don't have that same kind of.
At one point they were pivoting into it, right? Because they did deals with Hermes to have like different watch bands. They were trying to position the watch as a luxury type item. They never really met it because it became too fashionable. And also like Apple's a publicly traded company. They have to keep making money, right?
It's a premium good. It's not a luxury good, right? I think that's a different. So it's interesting that they're using, so they've got part of their portfolio which is maybe more closer to a luxury good, and they're taking pages out of the playbook of the luxury good companies. I've got another example of that actually right here. Do you know what this is?
It looks like a fish, Bill.
It is a pufferfish, a stuffed animal pufferfish by Jellycat. Have you heard of Jellycat?
Yeah, my kids have Jellycat stuff.
Yes, they are for some reason like, and they've done for various marketing reasons. They're like they've gone viral on whatever TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and so they've hyped themselves up a lot so that they are now able to sell their products at a premium. And they do use also some tactics from these same tactics, in particular scarcity. Like this pufferfish, like I don't know how many of them they made, but you can't just go to any store and get one. And once they're done, they're done. They will do these kinds of low runs or limited releases, or again, okay with out of stocks. I don't think they sell them. Maybe they sell them at like a Target or a Walmart, but I kind of doubt it. I think they find kind of smaller boutique kinds of outlets for them.
Yeah.
So, which is really interesting because like this is again kind of like a supply chain adjacent approach to how do you get a premium price on your product? How do you get it to be perceived as a higher value than just your regular old plushie?
Amazing. Humans are amazing. Bill, we are 25 minutes into this deal. I feel like we should plug someone now. Do you want to plug a supporter?
Yeah.
Our followers might want to go and support us somehow.
Great call. We have been talking a long time, and usually we've done this by now.
I didn't want to stop you. You're really on a roll, Bill.
We've got loads of these stuffed animals. My parents have a boutique-ish kind of store where they have been selling these actually for quite some time. So my kids have loads of them because my mom just like every time she shows up, she's got them. So, but anyway,
right there, Bill.
Anyway, this is a supply chain podcast. So I would assume that our listeners are in the supply chain world. And what's one thing that what's one common thing, Matt, across all of supply chain? What does pretty much everybody in supply chain use?
Data?
Excel. Data, yes, Excel.
Yes.
Spreadsheets, right? We all live on spreadsheets. And so what I want to talk about today, our sponsor is Parabola, the spreadsheet alternative, because we use our spreadsheets and we love our spreadsheets, but we also love to hate our spreadsheets, right? Yeah. Maybe not you. You just love your spreadsheets.
I just love spreadsheets, period.
Yes, but you're crazy, and so you are not the barometer that we're going to use. I love Excel too. Excel is great, and it's a phenomenal tool. But when you start building out huge processes based on Excel, those files get pretty crazy pretty fast, and they really bog you down. Yes. And so what's great about Parabola is that Parabola is a platform on which you can automate those kinds of data processes. Because when you're working with Excel in a sheet like that, you don't really know it, but you're doing a lot of data processes to prepare those files. You are opening up a whole bunch of different files and copy pasting them into a new sheet and sorting them maybe and writing a bunch of formulas and doing X, Y, and Z filters, all kinds of stuff. You can program all of that into Parabola. It's an online cloud-based platform. There are various connectors you can use to pick up your data wherever it's living. You can write a workflow in Parabola with really easy to use and understand drag and drop, no code tools. Yeah. Love that about them. And it produces an output. You save it out wherever you want that data to go, and you schedule it, and you're done, and you don't have to worry about it again. Yes.
I'm going to steal a marketing phrase that just popped into my head that hopefully you know from infomercials of yore. With Parabola, you can set it and forget it.
You can. I was about to say that.
Were you really?
I really was, but I wanted to point out that you can schedule these things, right? So yes, you schedule it and then you set it and forget it. It's amazing. Saves you hours, saves you tons of time, enables you to do bigger, better, more insightful analyses because you're not bogged down by all the manual work. It's a phenomenal tool. They're great people too. We love them.
Yes.
Parabola, spreadsheet alternative.
Thank you for sponsoring us.
Thank you, Parabola.
Well, Bill, we went a little long on the luxury goods.
We did.
As I told you over our text before we recorded, I could talk about luxury goods all day long. I am fascinated by them. And specifically how people use them as like investment tools. Anyways, something that's way more on par with the supply chain is tariffs. So it's been in the news recently. We're not going to talk about tariffs. We are taking the stand. We're not going to talk about tariffs. But
yes, time to be done with tariffs.
But
you're going to talk about tariffs anyway. No. Tariff adjacent.
Country of origin, because that matters as well, right? It's been a big topic in the news, was country of origin, and the question of like, what does that mean? Because here we will get very esoteric. So I'm gonna propose a new segment, a very quick segment on our podcast called "What is the essence of an item?"
I like where you're going. I think, yes, go on.
This is what U.S. Customs uses to determine where a product's country of origin is. Where was that essence of the item made?
Essence. Is that in the statutes, in the regulations?
Yes.
Essence? Are you serious?
My new favorite website is the U.S. Customs decisions on these things. They're public, right? Because we have learned what is a thing, right? And U.S. Customs is determining this is what the thing is, right? So they have a website, they publish all of their rulings, and companies, because of how complex the supply chain is, this is super quick, we will not be doing this every time we do this segment. Because of how complex the global supply chain is now, the question of country of origin comes up often, right? Because parts are made in different places and assembled in other locations. And so by the U.S. code, the country of origin is determined by a substantial transformation. And that specifically means a change in use, name, or form. Okay. So if I took, I don't know, a piece of rubber, right, and then melted it, vulcanized it into a tire, that would be a significant change, right? It was rubber and now it's a tire. Okay. That's sort of, so where do you, if I'm going to propose an example to you, a company is making hammers. What do you think the essence of the hammer is?
Essence of a hammer. I would say that is where the head of the hammer has been forged.
That is correct.
Yes.
Correct. By U.S. Customs ruling, and I will put the ruling in the show notes. By U.S. Customs ruling, the essence of the hammer is the head of the hammer, not where the handle might be, right? Because that's an important piece of the hammer too. But the essence of the hammer is the hammer head, and wherever that is made, doesn't matter whatever happens else. That is the country of origin of the item.
Amazing! I love this new segment, folks listening at home. This is podcasting at its very best. We have just invented a new segment for this podcast live on the podcast. This was not planned in advance.
No, I did plan it.
Okay, not planned. He did not tell me.
I typically don't tell you things, Bill, because it's more fun for me this way. But yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in U.S. Customs rulings website. It's a lot of fun. Well, I will find it gets way more crazy than that. I guarantee you that is a easy and simple answer.
This is great. Okay, we're playing this game. This is going to be our closing of the podcast. We're going to play Essence of.
Essence of. Right. We're going to get very esoteric here on this supply chain podcast because people
fantastic.
Think
Love it.
Well, Bill, thank you as always for making time to talk with me and Bullship.
That was a bunch of bullshit, Matt. Yes, it was a pleasure. Thank you.